Welcome back to Grace Abounds in Deepest Waters. So today I want to speak about something that I've been questioned a lot about. There's some people that has seen on my social media that the twins can actually read, albeit short little words, but they're reading them. And they ask me a lot about how I actually taught my kids to read. Now, while I can't exactly use the twins as examples because they're just beginning to read, I'm going to tell you how I actually taught the older two to read. They are fluent readers, and just so you know, it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that comes with consistency, and there's a few steps that goes with it. So this is just how we learned how to read. It's not the only way to teach a child how to read, and I watch hundreds of YouTube videos and things as research to teach my kids, and they all have different methods and ways to teach reading. This is just what works for us.
We are the Damons family. Cecil, Werner, Asnith, Asher, Othniel and O'Shea. We are a family of 6, driven by purpose and fueled by love. We decided to trade in the traditional school and family life for a life where every day is an adventure of faith and love. We love making memories and exploring the truth about education. And while we're at it, we might as well inspire and motivate other families to take the road less traveled, knowing that while we have each other, we have everything.
So the first step for us was reading, lots of reading, having special time to read in the day, and being consistent with that paid off. I believe it's important for a child to hear reading because they need to hear language. They need to hear syntax, they need to hear vocabulary, they need to hear fluctuations in voice, they need to hear nuances in dialogue. And the reason why it's important for them to hear it is because when they read, they will have to do it. In our house, we've got a few special times that we read. And I call it special times because it truly is special times in our house. Fridays we normally take very slow and relaxed. So something I like to do on a Friday morning is instead of jumping into mathematics or something that they really need to do heavy thinking with, Friday mornings we like to spend either me reading or where we actually do an audio book and we all just laze around and listen to the book. It's normally very fun because I like to choose fun books for this. Books that makes them laugh, books that makes them think, and they normally all raise their own opinions with regards to whatever's happening. Also do a lot of reading at bedtime. So since the time that they were very small, my husband and I used to take turns to read bedtime stories for them. Mommy's was normally one story. After reading the story, Mommy would then tuck them in and put off the light and say good night to everyone. But with Daddy believes in reading until they're all asleep. He says that's why they call it a bedtime story, because it's to make them sleep. So he comes with either one very thick book or he comes with a few books. And the kids love this. They actually choose stories before bedtime so that Daddy can read all the stories to them. And he continues reading until they're all asleep. To be honest, I also love this. So I would normally lay somewhere quite close by and also listen to the stories because I enjoy it myself. Step number 2 in teaching my kids to read was to immerse them in language. We would read everywhere and anywhere. When we ride in the car, we read the signs on the road, we read the shop names around us, street names. When we go to the library, we read there. When we go to the grocery store, we would read what is in which aisles, where to find what. Yeah, and it's normally something that's quite fun. We even put on the subtitles, like whether you're watching something on your phone or on the TV. It's actually quite fun to also follow with your eyes what they're reading. And yeah, that's played a big part in us learning how to read. We get them to look at labels on grocery items, and this was the time that I also introduced to them what the letters in the alphabet is called, so your A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I must say that even though knowing the names of the alphabet, I find it more important to do what I'm going to talk about now in step number 3. It's more important to know letter sounds than it is to know the names of the letters. I know that it's very cute when your kid comes home from school and they can sing their A, B, C, D, E, F, G's. Unfortunately, those letters are not going to teach a child to read. They need to know what the sounds that those letters make so that they can sound out a word. And since they started, I was very adamant on not teaching them the names of the letters, but I found that eventually the TV teaches it to them anyway. And yes, it is also important to know what they are. But just to begin with, I didn't want to confuse my kids by emphasizing too much on the names of the letters. Yes, and when I talk about letter names, just for whoever's not with me, A, B, C, D, E, F, G is the names of the letters. We emphasize more on the sounds of the letters, which is A, B, K, D. That's what you need to be able to read a word, because you need to be able to sound out the word when you learn to read that word. Hence, it's important that you as a mommy or you as a teacher know the correct sound that each letter makes. I cannot teach my kids that a Q is Q if I don't know what sound a Q actually makes. There's a lot of programs that you can use that will teach these sounds to you. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. There's a program called All About Reading. There's a program called The Writing Road to Reading. Yeah, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to know the letter sounds. I also, at this stage, also taught them that there is something called vowels, and there is some some letters that is constants. It's important that they know that every word in the English letter needs a vowel to make that word. In other languages, it's not so important, but in English, we definitely need vowels to make words. And also that words consist of constants and vowels. And it's important for them to know the difference between the two as well. Then step number 4 was to teach them word families. So we start small. We start just with, let's say, 3-letter words where you use a constant, a vowel, and a constant. Say, for example, cat. Cat, when you sound it out, k-at. It's important to know that the k and the t is 2 constants, and the e in the middle is a vowel. So we group them together. So using the A-E-I-O-U, we'd start with words that has a e in the middle. So you'd use your k-at, m-at, s-at. And then we'd go on to the next letter with the vowels, and the next one, and so on and so forth. It's also important that they learn rhymes, because rhyming is very important when it comes to learning words. For that reason, we actually love Dr. Seuss books. Sadly, we only really discovered it with the twins. Asad and Aisha, at the time we didn't go to the library with them, but for the twins, when they were small and we went to the library, I would go with a friend, and she would normally look up for all the Dr. Seuss books, and they're wonderful with rhyming words. And the twins loved getting the new book that we took out at the library. Rhyming helps to put words together. They help to build words. So listen to the rhymes. Those little songs, you find them all over these days on YouTube, on social media. You find all these little rhymes. There was a reason why they taught it to us when we were small. Incy Wincy Spider them. It was actually to help us to build words without us realizing it. Okay, so step number 5 is where we actually learn double consonant blends, blended word families. This is where you take 2 consonants, a vowel, and another 2 consonants, or just 2 consonants at the end of a word, or 2 consonants at the beginning of the word. For an example, I'm going to use the 2 consonants in D, like sand, hand, land. We can also move on to, like I said, 2 consonants at the beginning, 2 consonants at the end, and a vowel in the middle, like stamp. Yes, there's still 1 syllable words, but we're blending words, and that's what reading is all about. It's about the constant blending of words and how words are sounding. Then the 6th step, if I can call it that, that we used when we were learning to read was comprehension. Comprehension was very important to me, especially when I heard that in the news they were talking about kids that's in primary school. They can read, but they don't read with understanding. And for me that was important, because one day when you're doing an exam, you can read what you're supposed to be doing, but if you don't understand the instruction, then it is futile that you actually read what you were supposed to do. So we tried to do a lot of comprehension. Let's say we're learning about little words like cat. I'd stop in the story and I'd say, what's a cat? What sound does a cat make? Can you purr like a cat? And then also maybe, can you put the word cat in a sentence for me? And yeah, that's our way of understanding or making sense of the things that we are reading. I'd also ask them questions like, you know what's going to happen next in the story? Or do you think you can guess what happened before this happened? It all adds to understanding what you are reading. Then the 7th step when it comes to reading is something people don't often talk about, which is also quite important, and that's called sight words. Now some people call sight words high frequency words. Sight words is basically when you have a word where you cannot put the letters together, or let me say you can't sound out the letters that has been put together. And those are words like do and done. There's quite a lot of them. I've actually got lists which I could, I'm going to put an example of some up here, but I could also maybe put a link where you can find the sight words that we use in our own school, just so that the kids can recognize these words from seeing them. And that's why they're called sight words, is because when you look at the word, your brain immediately clicks and tells you that is what the word is. Basically you have to memorize those words. Words like said, came, pretty. So just to recap, I'm just going to go over the 7 steps that I use again to teach my kids to read. In case you thought that I was so good to memorize everything that I just said, I couldn't. So what I done was I made notes, and I'm just going to go over the different steps again for you. So my first step is read, read, read. Second step, immerse your child in the language. Third step, teach letter sounds. Yes, they must know the alphabet letters, the names of the letters, but your letter sounds is more important. This is also a good time to teach what a vowel is and what a consonant is. It's important for them to know what the difference between the two is. Then we teach letter families. Step number 5, let's start doing double consonant blended word families. Number 6, comprehension. We want them to be able to read with understanding. And step number 7 is sight words. Those are words that you cannot learn from sounding them. It doesn't even make sense when you sound them. So those words you learn from sight. When you see the word, you know the word. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Come back again next time. Please remember to like and subscribe and put on your post notifications. God bless.